We're continually invited to regard the haunting and ghoulish figure of Donald Trump as a kind of reincarnation of the militaristic despotism that blighted the 20th century. But it's my belief, Tulsi, that what we are sliding into is a new kind of technological dictatorship, a despotism that bears the aesthetic of bureaucracy, that owes more to Kafka and to Huxley and Orwell than Hitler or Stalin, through the increasing power of the censorship industrial complex, through the ability to shut down protests, through the ability to shut down free speech, smear political dissidents and opponents, use the judiciary as a tool of weaponry, shut down the campaigns of active political opponents, whether it's through censorship or lawfare. Seems to me that the thing that we are being instructed to fear in the form of Donald Trump is already upon us in the form of this technocratic yet technological dictatorship. It's already arrived.
Yes, it's more than a feeling, it's fact. The evidence backs it up, and it's a very intentional strategic move for the Democrat elite's narrative to be warning the American people, saying crazy things like, if you vote for Donald Trump, if he is allowed to win this election, it'll be the last election the United States ever has, that he will be the dictator in chief, painting this dark, bleak picture that you've just outlined, when the facts and the evidence show that they have already created this. And this is exactly the problem. They are weaponizing our public institutions. They're using the Department of Justice and law enforcement to go after their major political opponent in Donald Trump, but also going after our fellow Americans. When President Biden said, over half the country, I think he said 76 million voters in America are MAGA extremists, and they pose this greatest threat, a domestic threat to our democracy. He painted a target on the backs of tens of millions of Americans who voted against him and for the other guy, voted for Donald Trump. And President Biden spoke to the country saying they are the greatest threat we face. When you look at the kind of implications that has on our society, and you look at the reality that parents are getting arrested for going to Board of Education meetings and standing and very passionately speaking about their child's education, or their fear and anger around the fact that their gentleman in Loudoun County in Virginia, where I happen to be today, he stood up and his daughter was sexually assaulted by a boy who claimed to be a girl in the girls' bathroom. And instead of the school and the Board of Education actually doing something about it and holding this kid and his family responsible for this, they quietly transferred him to another school without saying anything, without telling the parents of this girl who was sexually assaulted. And guess what? Within a very short period of time, this boy went on to sexually assault another girl in the girls' bathroom, even as he claimed to be now a girl. There are so many examples of how Donald Trump is the face of this figure who is being targeted. They are throwing everything but the kitchen sink, trying to tie him up in court, drain him of time and money and resources, smear his character, put out this narrative that they hope will cause voters to turn away from him and throw up their hands and say, well, I guess Joe Biden's the only option. But it's also happening to Americans who you will likely never know the names of. The consequences of this and the precedent that it sets. And you're exactly right. It is the elected leaders. It is the bureaucrats. It is the administrative state, many layers down, who are executing this. And the dangerous thing is they're doing this in the name of democracy. They're telling us we have to do this to save democracy. They are so terrified of free people in a free society, getting the information wherever we want to get it, discerning that information and making up our own decisions, particularly as it relates to this upcoming election, that they're trying to get Donald Trump off the ballot, that over 32 states tried to unilaterally remove Donald Trump the ballot from, so we wouldn't even have the choice to vote for him. And their excuse for that is essentially, well, we are trying to save our democracy. We are too afraid of voters making the quote unquote wrong choice in this election that we have to undermine and destroy our democracy in order to save it. Save it from who? Save it from the American people from actually exercising our freedom. That's how twisted their mindset is. And it paints that picture of exactly where we will go as a country if they're allowed to do this and get away with it. And it creates that certainty for me and for others paying attention. If they're allowed to stay in power, this country that I love, that we love, will be gone. It'll be unrecognizable.
Yes, I understand that you're saying that we already face a far greater threat, and many people point to the 4 years that Trump has already had in office and his record on war and a variety of other issues as indicators that the level of polarization and hysteria are somewhat unwarranted, at least on the basis of empirical evidence. You've referred to the culture war and the significant power and disruption that are caused around a variety of issues. You mentioned the issues around gender and how that plays out culturally. One thing I thought that was interesting that Trump said when referring to abortion, and this caused a degree of controversy, was that he would leave it to individual states. I took that to mean that decentralization and federalism could be part of the solution to this increasing polarization, this growing contempt between people on both sides of the aisle, even though you are an indicator that those taxonomies are starting to melt with positions that previously have been attributed to one party now migrating, the issue of free speech, the issue of war being but two of the issues that have altered, and they continue to flip and change as protests in the colleges currently around matters in the Middle East demonstrate and reflect. I wonder, given that it's unlikely that post the November elections, we're unlikely to see a happy and gracious succession of power, do you feel that federalism and decentralization may at least in part hold the solution to what seem to be pretty seismic problems in your country?
Yes, I do. And it's something that, I've seen throughout my time serving in Congress and have understood how destructive it has been and counterproductive at best it's been when you have this big brother, big government overreach into our lives, into our schools, and into our communities. And going back again and looking at the Federalist Papers, looking at the thoughts and the intent behind our country's founders' vision as they crafted our founding documents. It really was. Our Constitution speaks to the very real limitations of government, the federal government, and its intent that power be decentralized really to the lowest level possible, where people know their communities. My home state of Hawaii is vastly different from California or New York or Montana or Texas or Florida. Every state has its own unique culture, has its own unique constituency. Our communities are best served and best able to impact decisions that are made, important policy decisions that are made when they're made at the lowest level.
Today's sponsors are American Financing. Are you trapped in a cycle of debt from monthly expenses and high credit card interest rates? I'm sick of it. American Financing, a trusted partner of ours and potentially yours now in helping people achieve financial freedom. They help homeowners tap into equity, and on average, their customers save, wait for it, $854 a month. That's equivalent to receiving $10,000 in an annual rise, or perhaps being given it by some sort of fairy or goblin. It's a straightforward process. You could close your loan in just 10 days. By acting today, you might not even have to pay your next mortgage payment. That sounds good if you're under a lot of pressure. To regain control of your finances is a too significant aim to simply ignore. This opportunity costs nothing. Call 866-574-2500. That's 866-574-2500. Or visit americanfinancing.net/Russel. It's only available for Americans. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.